and welcome to the Daily Space Weather, folks. I'm Dan, aka smAshomAsh, your host. And thanks for tuning in. We're going to be talking about things like the sun, believe it or not. Here's a 48-hour video from the SDO showing some coronal holes around the equator as well as at both poles. Sunspot 2766 has degraded to plage. And let's see what else we've got. Lots of stuff to cover. Next, let's head to helioviewer.org. Here are the fields. And you can see Sunspot 2766 is ready to set. Former sunspot, I should say. Here's a 304 angstroms view. Next, we've got some custom images here. We made a one-day video of the eastern limb to check and see if any activity is rising. Not a lot going on, very low levels of solar activity. The solar wind extremely weak. Allow me to vanish. And pardon the low resolution, folks. Anyway, there's an image of that former sunspot now decayed to plage. By the way, we are streaming live to Twitch. So, please leave us a comment if you're viewing live. And let's get back to some more data here. Here's a real-time solar wind. Phi angle currently could be magnetically connected to coronal holes here. Pretty close to 180 degrees. Solar wind density has dropped off a cliff down to about 1 proton per cubic centimeter. That's pretty diffuse out there. In space, a frontier. These are the voyages of the smash plane smAshomAsh. Solar wind speed has just dropped down to even lower levels, and it's been down to 318 kilometers a second. 318 is a good number. It's a fast Chevrolet motor. And here's the KP index at 0 for the past 6 hours. Check out the magnetosphere. It's super weak. You can see all the very low density solar wind coming in from the left. High density shown in blue just at the bow shock region. We'll let that play through to show you 4 hours of data. By the way, if you wonder what we're listening to, it's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2, made famous by Merry Melodies cartoons, starring beloved characters like Bugs Bunny. Anyway, there's that low density magnetosphere, and check out the pressure. One of the lowest we've seen it on the channel. Very, very low. And at the end of the video, it gets even lower than you're seeing here. There are electrons out there in the Van Allen belt, though. As we've seen the electron flux come back from its lowest levels in a long, long time. Anyway, there's the pressure, 4 hours of data, courtesy University of Michigan. Here's the ground magnetic perturbations during this polar excursion. South Pole somewhere south of Australia. And the North Pole is, well, we've got 2 of them. One over northern Canada and one over northern Siberia. Putting the net pole somewhere over here by Svalbard. Anyway, not a lot of magnetism going on there. By the way, thanks to our patrons, the real source of funding, please consider becoming a patron and increasing the probability that these videos will continue to 1. Exist, 2. Be publicly visible, and 3. Be free. We've got 2 tiers over there. Check it out. Check the links below the video in the description, and click our links. We're also on Subscribestar. There's a PayPal link, etc. There's an Amazon affiliate about to happen. We're going to start putting stuff in there this weekend, hopefully, if all goes according to plan. And again, we are streaming live to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/smAshomAsh. Also, please take a moment to press like and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't done so. And don't forget to share with your friends and your foes. We made a video just this morning about how the house centipede is a beneficial biological weapon. Did you know? We're also on BitChute, where we get hundreds more views per day than we get on YouTube, and we are trending in the science and technology categories. Shout out to all of our subscribers over at BitChute, and thanks. And now we've moved into a Smash Light section, where we talk about whatever we want during the smAsho stream, and we've got some interesting stories, as we typically do, during our news crawler services. How about a Hoag's object? Still a mystery after 70 years. How does a galaxy form that way? Is it gravitational lensing? Well, it turns out that the redshift of these stars and the redshift of these stars is identical, an indication that they're at the same focal length. And it's not really evident how galaxies form this way, and there's a bunch of objects that are sort of similar. This one is called, it's just called Hoag's object. So I don't know if that's a class, that's in a classification also. I think it would probably have a Messier classification as well as an NGC. It's just not listed in the article. Now, we're not fans of Forbes, because Forbes killed a story about the hoax of climate change. But hey, you never know when they're going to come out with something good. Steve Forbes is one creepy dude, but hey, this is a good article. So anyway, astronomers lack cosmic toolboxes. And the cosmic toolbox includes things like gravity and collisions, mainly. And those sort of features, those sort of phenomenon are used to explain practically everything. Now we see a lensed object here. And anyway, check out the article on Forbes, or do a search for Hoag's object. And you should see some interesting stuff. Some different galaxies. This one's believed to have formed by the collision between a larger and smaller galaxy. So that one's known as the Cartwheel Galaxy. And you can see those hot blue stars surrounding it. So another interesting article about galaxies, there's NGC 1291. And I'll just let the article scroll so you can read it without ever having to go to Forbes.com. So please feel free to press pause to read the article if you like. We'll be here when you get back. That's the beauty of on demand, right? Anyway, there's an analysis of a false color image of PGC 10000714, a Hoag-like object. You can see once again you've got this ring with empty space in between it and the inner ring. So there are a bunch of galaxies like this. Here's NGC 6028. Here's another ring galaxy. That's a composite image, actually, of Hoag's object. So anyway, if you want to check that article, it's called Astronomy's Most Perfect Ring Galaxy, Hoag's Object is Still a Mystery After 70 Years. Japanese telescope, the SciSci telescope, which is a the SciMay telescope. SciMay, I don't know. My Far Eastern language pronunciation is questionable. Anyway, a super flare has been noted on a nearby star. I think it's at about 16 light years, so it's quite close. A.D. Leonis, a red dwarf. And I won't get into the HR diagram or anything like that, but nice job. Namakata. Light from excited hydrogen atoms of the superflare exhibited an amount of high-energy electrons roughly on the order of magnitude greater than typical flares from the sun. Okay? Anyway, it's a very high-precision telescope, and we're expecting more great things to come out of this. Published in Astronomical Society of Japan. This one's on SciTech Daily. the new smASho telescope, detecting an intense, quote, super flare. Let's go back to Forbes real quick. Possibly my favorite cartoonist ever, Gary Larson, is back to making The Far Side after 25 years. Nice timing, Gary Larson. We can't wait to see the new comics. Of course, they'll be brilliant. Anyway, he's been publishing online one of my favorite comic strips of all time, probably my favorite comic strip of all time, The Far Side. Super science, nerdy level jokes in there. So shout out to Gary Larson. Welcome back to the fold. And oh no, now we've moved on to some really scary and spooky stuff. It's so scary and spooky that I'm going to have to do a For You Again. All right, and let's continue on with the content here. I've survived a global pandemic so far. Would you like to see us make merch with this on it? Would you be willing to buy a shirt like this for $25 plus shipping? Well, we're still considering it. And pardon the delay, but it's all got to do with funding, folks. Anyway, some people have survived a global pandemic. Other people have emerged brain dead. Check it out. Skid marks on a pride-painted crosswalk have prompted West Vancouver police to investigate a hate crime because the owner of this car, this red and black Mustang, it looks like, skidded. And if you look closely, there are hardly any skid marks on the white stripe, which means the driver must have been homophobic and a white supremacist. Looks like a parody account. Nice tweet. Alfatero. Anyway, trying to classify a traffic violation as a hate crime indicates some bored police. And by the way, this is the Insanity Files section of smAshomAsh.com/forum. We've picked up 2 articles as people are losing their minds lately, and I've noted some of the worst drivers I've ever seen in my life in the past couple of days. Perhaps we'll have to look at cosmic rays. A Wisconsin man allegedly killed a motorcyclist because he was white. So Daniel Navarro, 27, apparently intentionally initiated a head-on collision with Philip Thiessen, 55, pronounced dead at the scene. As this genius alleged that he's been harassed, drugged, poisoned, or verbally attacked by white people, he claimed that he could hear one of his neighbors making racist comments through the walls of his residence and decided somebody has to die. So he decided to go initiate a head-on collision with a motorcycle. Sounds insane to me. Sounds like a real hate crime. What say you? By the way, we've started another topic here at smAshomAsh.com/forum in the free-for-all forum. Now, that last one is part of the general science forum, but here in the free-for-all forum, we're talking about movie recommendations. And nobody's commented yet, so please stop by and leave a comment, smAshomAsh.com/forum, in the movie recommendations section. That means you. So here's one. Kelly's Heroes, a World War II-based action drama starring Clint Eastwood, Telly Savalas, Don Rickles, and Donald Sutherland as Oddball. Possibly my favorite character ever in a movie. Watch it if you haven't. It's a great piece of fiction. We're also all over social media. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, minds.com/smAshomAsh, smAshomAsh.locals.com, Dave Rubin's new site. We're on Twitter. Check out the tweets over there. Always some interesting content. We got a great view. We're also on Instagram, instagram.com/smAshomAsh. Got a great view of the frontal boundary from that coastal low that for some reason the media has decided to call Tropical Storm Faye, even though it was never a tropical storm. Anyway, a great view of the frontal boundary. You can see this clear sky with wispy cirrus clouds and then these low clouds in the foreground, an indication of a frontal boundary, a massive pressure gradient. If you haven't checked us out there, Still can't get to 500 followers, as we've got over 2,800 posts. And here ends another episode of Smash Lights. And thanks for tuning in. Whether you viewed live or you viewed Memorex, or whether you're a daily space weather regular who likes to view our live premieres. Cheers. And let's get back to stuff like data. Comet Neowise. If you're up before dawn, you may be able to see it in the north-northeast sky. This one's featuring some noctilucent clouds as well. That image near Liverpool, shout out to Vincent Phillips. And that's available at spaceweather.com. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux is at 69 solar flux units. And now we've got the coronal mass ejections showing up on the Enlil spiral. And you can see the way they're allegedly propagating there. And I'm not so sure they went in those directions. But that's the official forecast. And NOAA/NASA is forecasting a glancing blow early on the 14th. So there you can see what the forecast is. And whether I agree with it or not is totally irrelevant. We're mainly here to look at the 10.7 centimeter radial flux. And the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard has changed its URL for some reason. So you may have to reload that if you have it in your links. X-ray flux is quite flatlined here, no surprises there. Proton flux is quite flatlined, no surprises there. GOES magnetometer is a little bit spiky here yet, and we are in solidly the North Pole current sheet, as I've forecasted. And we're expecting to remain there for at least the next 36 hours. This data is 1 hour and 24 minutes old. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change with no warning. That's why sunspots can appear unexpectedly. Here's a line of sight field plot showing the B field in blue. No major changes in that. And next we're going to Lagrange point 1 to look at the Glasgow C2 coronagraph. And you can see some ejecta headed out this way, to the west, as that coronal mass ejection mops up its final moments. Here's the Glasgow C3. A little more zoomed out view of the same thing, and you can see that ejecta a little bit on both sides. It's pretty diffuse. And we're told by NASA and NOAA that it's ultra slow moving. For you new viewers, the SOHO LASCO is located here at Lagrange point 1. Stereo A is located here at Lagrange point 5. Stereo B is located here at Lagrange point 3. Please leave a comment if you think Nibiru is located at Lagrange point 4. Anyway, there's where stuff is in the solar system. Major planetary pileup, as every planet in the solar system is all on the same side of the sun. There's where things will be in a week, approaching the next new moon. It's a crescent waning. Next, looking at Stereo A's view coronagraph, and you can see that ejecta from that view also, largely missing to the west. Nothing to write home about there. Again, if you get up before dawn, you can see Mercury and Venus, which is practically right over Aldebaran. Mars, the Moon, Saturn, and Jupiter if you're up early enough. I like to use in-the-sky.org. You can even animate your star chart. Electron flux is at more normal levels here. Still pretty low. And don't be surprised to see this rise into warning territory today once again. I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen. In fact, it's an official forecast, as we've had some strong coronal hole wind streams, and I won't get into the astrophysics of it because it's the daily space weather, not a cosmology segment. So here you can see some anomalies continuing over the Caribbean, southern Mexico, and off the coast of Baja California. Otherwise, GPSs should be operating pretty normally here. Here's just the ionosphere. This is the entire air column. This is just the ionosphere layer. That's 6 hours of data. And the ionosphere is anomalously discharged on the sun side. One of the most discharged we've ever seen it, actually. And more normal on the night side. So here's the latest image. That one's at 10 o'clock UT. And you can see highly discharged, only making it to 7 megahertz there on the sun side. Moving on to earthquakes, we see a bit of a lull in earthquake activity there. Let's look at the past 24 hours. Small deep quake strikes Alaska. Here's a little larger one striking Tonga. That one came in at 1712 yesterday. It's a 4.9 magnitude in the deep earthquake capital of the world, the Fiji-Tongan region. It's at 132.6 kilometers. And less than an hour later, we see a 4.8 at the Philippines. Let's continue up the list here. I think the largest of the past 24 was only a 5.0 magnitude. Here's another deep quake out in the Aleutian Islands. It's a 4.2 magnitude at 171 kilometers. A deep quake strikes Afghanistan. Make it 2. Those come in about a half hour apart from each other. Both over 200 kilometers depth and in the low 4 magnitude range. Extremely deep quake strikes Fiji. 623 kilometers depth and a 4.3 magnitude. Indonesia sees a deep quake. 7:17 this morning on 7-Eleven, official convenience store day. It's a 4.8 magnitude at 109 kilometers. Volcano rundown includes Semeru. Flight level 14,000 there. Dakono, flight level 6,000 there. Revenador's exploding, flight level 15,000 there. And Sabancaya, likewise. Continuous emission of gases and volcanic ash, producing a 21,000-foot ash plume. Please do not attempt to jump your BMX bike over the caldera. Check out the extreme meridional jet stream flow at the geographic North Pole. That's hardly a jet stream, totally incoherent. Let's look at the jets of the eastern world. There are the jets of the east, getting some extremely hot air blowing down toward Antarctica. And then likewise some extremely cold air blowing up towards southern Australia. Here are the jets of the west. And you can see extremely incoherent jet stream behavior. Major air masses moving totally the wrong direction, such as this South Atlantic flow from east to west. Most weather moves west to east, folks. And let's move on here to look at windy.com's pressure maps. We'll let it advance into tomorrow via the GFS forecast. What will you be doing Sunday? What I'm doing is classified. Anyway, here's where things will be at 12 noon my time. We're located in eastern Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley. And leave us a comment if you've got a name for this anticyclone. I've got ideas. We'll get to it in a minute. We'll get to naming anticyclones momentarily. Next, looking at lightning. Here's where the strikes are happening. By the way, that's not fake news up there. That's not fake news Russian. That's not fake news Russian thunder and lightning. That's the real deal. Let's see what's going on in the U.S. Shout out to our Minnesotan viewers. Hey, Minneapolis, get out and look to the south. You could see sprites. It's a fairly active cell there. Hey, Lakeville, there's thunder rolling in. Impress your friends and your foes at lightningmaps.org by forecasting thunder. Convince your foes that you're Thor. Here's the water vapor map for Africa and Europe. As we do value-added services, here's another water vapor map for the Far East and Oceania. Water vapor maps for the Americas. I think maybe we should name this anticyclone the James Hansen. It's the James Hansen anticyclone, folks. What do you think? One of the original climate hacks from NASA. Exploiting taxpayer dollars for personal gain and creating alarmism and nonsense. Pretending to be a scientist who people believe because he works for NASA. Here's what's going on in the cloud layer. Here's what's going on in water vapor. We're going to zoom in on this area over western Iowa. as there's a bit of a double convergence happening there. Check out these Hall currents. If you think those are chemtrails, let me just state that the resolution of this map is 2 kilometers. I don't know how many planes you think it would require to create that sort of a situation, but those are perpendicular lines to the mode of travel of the water vapor. Anyway, if you're in that region over central Kansas, you should see some amazing cloud formations. Go out and have a look. You may find things like lenticular clouds. Anyway, there's what's going on in the water vapor layer, which should give you good insight into what's happening on the Doppler radar. Shown here. And that coastal low is finally moving up toward Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Hampshire. Otherwise, fairly little bit of spotty showers over me that should burn off as the day goes on. And thanks SMASH team for tuning in. Don't forget to share the SMASH stream and SMASH lights. Tell your friends, tell your foes, tell your science noobs and your science pros. We've got more bonus features, such as when I thank you for flying American Smashways. And we request that you please keep your head and arms inside the SMASH plane at all times. We don't need dismemberment or decapitations. Let's talk about luck. Are you a lucker? Do you believe in luck? Now, personally, I believe that luck is a figment of man's imagination, an attempt to explain the chaos in the universe in which he lives. The point is, wish me
luck
today, not that I'll need it. And we wish our friends over at the Pickle Juice Cycling Team luck, and any of our teammates if we're racing over there. Not exactly sure where everybody will be right now. The 2020 Pickle Juice Race Series, another race is happening today starting at 9 a.m. in Royersford. So if you want to go to a bike race, Springford High School at 350 South Lewis Road in Royersford, Pennsylvania. Should be some exciting bike racing. If you ever wanted to see people race a bike while wearing masks, it's a perfect place to do that. So there's the flyer. You've got the feature events happen early, actually, at 10 and 11:15. So those are the ones you want to watch if you want to go there. The men's 1, 2, 3 and the women's 1, 2, 3, 2 Pro-Am events. Starting at 10 o'clock. Now, I'll be racing a bike today also at the Velodrome. If you want to check out the website, it's thevelodrome.com. Now, Trexlertown, Pennsylvania is one of the biggest cycling communities in the entire world. And the Velodrome is just 1 year older than me. Who knew? So today, there are a bunch of time trials going on, and I would invite you to watch, except that you can't, because they're limiting people inside of the Velodrome to only 25, including riders, organizers, and officials. So again, I'd invite you to watch, but you're not allowed. And there's where I'll be. I'll be in Heat 2 of the men's 4-kilometer time trial. So it's sort of my specialty. Let's see if I shine as I would hope to. Anyway, here's Sunspot 2766. Former Sunspot 2766's Plage. No other sunspots on the disc. We're back to 0 sunspots, folks. Anyway, there's the latest update on that. Here's the latest refresh on the colorized magnetogram. Not a lot of magnetic organization going on. This area down here is a little interesting looking. Nothing to write home about. Let's take one more view here. How about 131 angstroms? A crowd favorite. It's 48 hours from the SDO of our local yellow dwarf. Please leave a comment if you have comments directly for the sun. Let us know if you think the sun is sentient, as a lot of people do. Don't forget to stare at it, attempt to understand the physics, don't drink, and if you do drink, don't drive. Certainly don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, and may that atherosclerosis and covidiocy be absent from your health profile.